Good morning. We are live. Glad to be here. Glad to see you. Daylight savings time. Yeah, everybody loves the spring one, right? Where we lose an hour of sleep. Yep, we're going to talk about that first thing. Got a lot to talk about as far as global politics, a little bit of Iran, a whole lot of Europe and China. Our European folks, you need to hang out for this. Let's just dig into it. Let's go. Let's get to work. Good morning, everybody. Everybody loves daylight savings time, right? Well, you know what? I'm going to ask. Do you people like daylight savings time? I know I hate it. I despise it. I do. I despise it. I wish they would pick one and stick with it. I really do. Like the one in fall makes the most sense because it spreads throughout the month. But I despise daylight savings time. I really do. Everybody hates it. Well, you know where it comes from? You know where it comes from? Actually, this is something that we have been doing as a people, our leaders, since ancient times. I mean, since we use sundials, this is something that we've done for efficiency. But the modern understanding of daylight savings time actually, like most things, it's complicated. It did not start with one person or one area, but it did start to catch speed with this freaking guy. Y'all may recognize him. Ben Franklin. Yeah, he wrote an essay during his time in France for the French people, called An Economic Project. And I'm going to put a pin in it for just a second. Right-wingers are such morons. They are. They sit there and they hate that socialism. They hate that socialism, but we need to be more like the founding fathers. We need to be more like, they were socialist as hell. They were. Ben Franklin, I mean, just an economic project. That is the government telling everybody how to run their business. I mean, they were. It makes no sense to me whatsoever, this anti-socialism thing that these people have. 9 times out of 10, what they're bitching about is leadership. And we've done this since the beginning of time. Daylight savings isn't a new concept. Since our first timekeeping piece, even before clocks were a thing, we were managing this time. And it was our leaders doing it. This anti-government, makes no sense whatsoever. It's just freaking anarchy is what they like. They're not anti-socialism, they're anti. But this guy, just as a side note, this guy was a nut, man. Ben Franklin, I'm telling you, you need to do some reading. They need to make a really good movie about Ben Franklin. This guy was a hoe dog. He was. During his time, they don't know how many affairs he had. They don't. Can you believe this guy? I mean, he was not the prettiest thing to look at. He was a little bit chubby. He had some health issues. He was not something that in the modern day era you would think would, but apparently this guy could talk the pants off of just about anybody. I'm telling you, he was a ho dog. Of his most notable affairs were with Anne DeJoy, uh, um, uh, Madame DeJoy, pardon me, and this woman. Um, One second, I want to make sure I pronounce her name correctly. It was Madame Briand DeJoy and Madame Anne Helvetius. Helvetius was two of his most notable. This is when he was serving as our representative, our ambassador to France. He's out there just, and he can't just like be a ho dog like everybody else that like went to the club or went to the pub or no. It's got to be aristocracy. I mean, this guy was terrible. He was terrible. He incorrigible, and he was married. He was married. He was married. This is his wife, Deborah Reed, at the time. His wife, Deborah Reed. I'm telling you, Ben Franklin was a ho dog. He was also responsible in his essay, An Economic Project, which was geared more towards the French. It was he was telling the French that they could save in modern money, if you convert what he was talking about then, in just candles. If they would embrace daylight savings time, they could save $200 million a year in modern money. If you convert what it would, from then to now, $200 million a year in candles alone. So yeah, that was one, it wasn't a new topic. And then fast forward to around the 1900s, you had this guy. Right before World War I, you had this guy. His name was William Willett. He was a British builder. He had considerable influence in Parliament, and he was an outdoorsman. I mean, he's like a Teddy Roosevelt kind of guy. He just loved the outdoors, and that's what he did. Summertime was his thing. Summertime was his first love. I mean, he was just tons of writings and stuff. He was a builder, but man, he was an outdoorsman. He loved to get up in the morning and head out in the woods. That's what he liked to do. He would leave his estate. He would walk down the street, go out into the woods, and just march through the woods. And it used to bother him. He wrote about this. This is not something that's speculation. These are his words. It used to really freaking bother him that in the summertime, he would get up and he would just be enjoying his beautiful morning, and he would look around at his neighbors, and he would pass his neighbor's house, he'd pass a neighbor's house, and the curtains would be drawn because they were sleeping. And it used to bug the living shit out of him. So he used his influence and tried to get a bill passed through Parliament that was daylight savings times. But the prime minister was having none of it, even though he had support from people like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the famous author, and even this freaking guy, King Edward. King Edward was all on board for it. He actually, despite there not being any law, King Edward would move his clocks. He was kind of a not England's best leader. Going into World War I, this guy was also an avid outdoorsman, and he wanted more time to hunt. So he would set the palace clocks. He would do the whole daylight savings time thing voluntarily. And that was the problem with it, is some people did it, some people didn't. It was willy-nilly. It was difficult. It was difficult. The prime minister didn't want to go with it because he thought it was just going to be too much work to change the train schedules. So it just didn't happen right away. King Edward here is like, yeah, we need to do this, man. It gives me 20 more minutes a day. They didn't move it an hour originally. They would move it. The original idea was, let's move it in 20-minute increments starting in April. over the month of April. We'll move it 3 times, which is crazy, but that's the way they wanted to do it. So, but King Edward's like, yeah, I get to hunt 20 more minutes a day. I'm doing it. Then World War I broke out. And the paragons of efficiency that the Germans were, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people thought, well, oh man, they were innovators, this, that, and the other. No, they were really good at stealing shit, stealing ideas. The Germans, they're unabashedly, they may have considered, there may have been a superiority issue there, but the Germans very much looked around and said, hey, that's a good idea. That's ours now. And the Germans did it. World War I broke out. They said, we need to be more efficient. Daylight savings time it is. And the British took a look at it and said, that works. We should have done that shit 15 years ago when we were talking about it. Oh, well, we'll do it now. So the British did it. The Germans did it. The British did it. And the Americans are like, well, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. In steps this guy, Senator William Calder, Republican of New York. You can blame this sorry bastard. They invented time zones, and they invented the Calder Act of 1918, the Calder Act. They invented time zones. They invented the daylight savings time, and Woodrow Wilson signed it into law in 1918. And everybody hated it. Absolutely hated it. 100%. Across the country. They're like, fuck this. We're not doing it. We don't want to do it. So in 1919, they repealed it. It went away. I mention this because that's a possibility. We don't have to do this shit. That law's been changed before. Just because we do it now doesn't mean that we can't stop doing it. We stopped doing it once. 1918, they passed the law. 1919, the American people said, cut it out. And they did. They stopped. Right up until this guy. Congressman Harley Staggers in 1966 of West Virginia. Congressman Harley Staggers proposed a bill that was actually supported, had a great deal of bipartisan support. He proposed and let me get this right. Don't want to be accurate. Let me take a look at my notes here so I can be 100% accurate in case you want to look this up. It is the Uniform Time Act of 1966. Did not have that memorized, if you can't tell. The Uniform Time Act of 1966 was proposed by Harley Staggers and signed into law by none other than Lyndon Baines Johnson. Lyndon Baines Johnson of Texas signed it into law. There have been a few modifications to it, but pretty much will stands as written back in 1966. And the rest is history. My point in all this is that's who you freaking blame. That's who you freaking blame. And we don't have to do this shit ever anymore if we don't want to. They can stop this. Next spring, when the time changes, could be the last time it changes. We can do this. We really can. Anyways, I know you're not happy about daylight savings. I'm not happy about daylight savings, but that's all we're going to talk about it. That's all we're going to talk about it. I appreciate you. Ollie, good to see you. Wife said like cutting off bottom of the blanket and sewing it on the top. Yep. Yeah. I lost my golden hour this morning. Oh man, God dog, man, I didn't need to know that 5 p.m. somewhere. I didn't need to know that. TMI, brother, TMI. Helen of Scots gifted. All right, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate y'all spending your Sunday with me. I do. Well, I haven't even. Oh, y'all know what happened with oil prices on Friday, right? Yeah. This also happened after that. I am bracing for Monday. Many of the experts, commodity trading experts, are saying that oil could hit 120 a barrel on Monday. We'll see. We'll see. It blew past $90 a barrel on Friday. You remember just a few short weeks ago, we were talking about how oil was down around 50, and that was dangerous for the oil industry. Yeah, it busted through $90 a barrel Friday. And that was before this happened. That was before this happened. One of the world's largest refineries, we just blew it up. That is something, isn't it? That is something. That is something. Whoo, man. That's the Sharon Oil Depot and Refinery in Tehran. That is going to spike oil prices. Oh my God. Every time something like that happens, oil prices just, and I'm not even kidding, folks. I'm not here. I didn't have it pulled up for you. Let me show you. Let me pull it up for you so you can see it, so that you know that I am being 100% solid. Do. There we go. One of my favorite sites, oilprice.com. So you've got everything all together there. West Texas Intermediate, $91 a barrel. Brent crude, 92, almost 93 a barrel. Ooh, Lord. 103 a barrel from Urbana. Let's go take a look at how Canada's doing. West Canada Select, where are you? West Canada Select, where are you? Well, there you go. Western Canada up to almost $70 a barrel. And that is some of the least expensive crude you can buy. That is some ugly shit, though. Canada, I love you people, I really do. But your West Canada Select is not pretty oil. That is some heavy stuff, man. Heavy, sour stuff. Yeah, it's being widely reported to brace for Monday. That oil prices will very likely surge to well in excess of $100 a barrel. They're saying 120. Most people are like, that's a lot. 30 in one day, that's a lot. More likely, it's going to break over 100. You'll see a psychological thing. And yeah, not a good thing. Not a good thing. Especially since there was actually some good news coming out of the region. The United Arab Emirates. And I want to talk about politics for a second before we get into this and how it works in this country now. Social media is so full of bullshit. I posted about this, these next two things that we're going to talk about with Iran. Um, and I immediately got hit with the from the pro-Israel people, calling me a liar. Calling me a liar. This is really happening, folks. It's really going on. I've got the articles. I bring receipts. But just the very notion that this is happening sent them over the top. And the pro-Netanyahu, pro-Israeli people lost their shit when I talked about this, because they really want to present to the world that this is going to be ongoing, and they're going to do whatever they want to do forever, and anything that Iran does that can be construed as positive is all a lie, to the point where they actually I blocked about a dozen people. Folks, this is not hard to understand at all. I mean, this is just happening. The UAE has restricted some of its airspace to us and said no more offensive operations against Iran in this portion of the airspace. They have restricted some of their airspace from us and Israel. Why? Because they've reopened their commercial corridors, partially reopened their commercial corridors, not all of them, so that civilians could start moving. You remember when this conflict started, there was no planning at all. There was just no planning. So people were stuck with no plan. And the State Department was less than useless because, well, it's a Republican State Department. They were sent scrambling over the last week trying to figure something out. Well, the UAE and Qatar said, we'll handle this ourselves. So Emirates Airlines and Qatar Airlines have now started flights out of Qatar and the United Emirates, out of Dubai and Doha and some of the major airports. They're moving civilians out. But to do that, you can't do that during combat operations. I mean, you understand, it's just not conducive to actually flying commercial airlines in and out of these regions while there is combat going on. We had a fit about this. And they said, suck it up. This is what's going to happen. Our airspace. You want to continue doing what you're doing, you've got to follow the rules. Israel and us, the United States, had a fit and fell back in it because it all sprung from conversations that are happening between Iran, more specifically Masoud Pezeshkian, and their Gulf neighbors. He came out and issued a statement of apology yesterday to his Gulf neighbors and an explanation as to why they were attacked, and assured that they will not be attacked in the future. Good Lord, the bots and the trolls, the pro-Netanyahu, pro-war trolls, lost their frickin' minds when I said that. It's just a matter of fact. That's what they did. It's documented fact. They're like, Pezeshkian doesn't run anything. You're a liar. You're pro-Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Oh man, they lost their shit. And I just want to, in the most diplomatic way, explain that those people that are trying to call me a liar when this is all just documented can kiss my entire ass. Period. Full stop. That's a good thing that Iran is talking to its neighbors. I don't give a shit if it makes Bibi look like a fucking warmonger, because he is. He's a psychopathic warmonger. He is. Trump is a fucking idiot. He is an idiot. A blithering, pudding-brained idiot. You've got Pete Kegbreath, who all he cares about is war fighters and how's this playing on Fox News. That's what's really going on. And then the fact that Iran is stepping up and apologizing to his neighbors, and this is the explanation that Pezeshkian gave. He said, look, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps did not report to me, the president. They reported directly to Ayatollah Khomeini. When you killed him, they were essentially leaderless and did what they thought they should do in this situation, which was just attack everybody that was involved in killing, martyring our leader. Which, by the way, let's pause that for a second and talk about that. Do you know why you don't do that? Even when they're bad people, do you know why you don't do that? There's a pretty for all military eternity, there has been an understanding that someone must be alive that can command your enemy's military. That's just, it's just the way it works. And doing something stupid like Benjamin Netanyahu just, what's the word I'm looking for? Bent over Trump. I mean, what is the, and got us into this stupid war to do was stupid. Yes, Khomeini was awful. Yes, the regime was awful. But when you killed the leadership, you cut the IRGC loose on its own, and they were pissed. And believe me, some of their leaders are not who you want in charge. They just, I'll put it that way. Some of the generals that run the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps are fucking animals. In fact, their new leader is a psychopath. Thanks, Israel. So Pezeshkian said, look, you don't do that, is what I'm saying. You don't do that. You don't decapitate the leadership, because then there's nobody left to fucking talk to. And usually, no matter how bad the leadership is, they have worse people around them, and they're holding the reins on them people, and those dogs are cut the fuck loose, and it's chaos. That's why you typically don't do that. But here we are. This is what's going on. Pezeshkian said, look, me and the triumvirate have gotten together. We agree on this. It's that simple. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps did this on their own. We're going to grab the leash, even though they don't report to me. We're going to assume control over it. We are. Careful with this one. It's Khomeini with an A, not an O. But Khomeini's son, this was widely reported all over social media that Khomeini's son had been selected. Don't. That was influencers wanting to guess because they heard that he was influential, and so, oh, that'll be the guy. I'll guess that, and if I'm right, I'll look smart. Here's the fact. Here's what it is. We don't know who's going to be the next leader. We don't. But we do know that the conservatives have lost their shit over Pezeshkian grabbing control of the IRGC. The ultra conservatives, the ultra hardliners are like, oh, wait a minute, that's not how it works here. The theocracy controls the military, and the political establishment just grabbed control of the military. We cannot have that. We've got to return it to the theocracy. So this debate we're having right now amongst ourselves, the theocratic hardliners have been fighting back and forth about who's going to be the supreme leader. They made an announcement. Okay, we're going to stop fighting and we're going to choose somebody like tomorrow. We're going to choose somebody like tomorrow, which tells you no, they didn't already choose Mustafa Khomeini. They didn't. If the hardliners are telling you we're going to pick somebody tomorrow, that means no, they didn't pick somebody yesterday when all of social media said, oh, look, I'm the smartest person in the world. I know who they're going to pick. It was just a guess on these people's part, is all it was. Mustafa Khomeini, I will say it again, he is incredibly popular. He's incredibly popular with the IRGC. The military. There's a lot of reasons to think why he could assume power. He has one huge check mark against him. He is Khomeini's son. He's Ali Khomeini's son. Iran tends to not do that. Going back to the whole reason for their revolution was the Shah's son being forced upon them. That's still a thing in Iran. They don't like monarchies, and this looks a lot like a monarchy. If they take Ali Khamenei's son and elevate him to supreme leader, it looks like the monarchy is back. That's a big strike against him. So I don't know. It's, to me, it looks like laziness and guessing, trying to seem like you know shit when you don't know shit. I don't know. If you put a gun to my head and said, Paul, guess who's going to be the supreme leader? My guess would be, again, this guy. This is Ayatollah al-Rasi Arafi. He was basically Khomeini's right-hand man. Extremely powerful senior cleric. Has all the right, just checks off all the right boxes. None of the negatives that Mustafa Khomeini has, as far as this guy's got everything Mustafa Khomeini has, plus he's not Ali Khomeini's son. So if I had to guess, I'd say it's going to be a Rafi. But I don't have a crystal ball. I'm guessing. I'm not like these people on social media telling you, oh, I know it's Mustafa Khomeini. Ayatollah Mustafa Khomeini. I know. Well, no, you don't. Because Iran itself is telling you they don't know who they're going to pick yet. They're going to pick somebody tomorrow, but they're going to do it right away because, again, that's what's happening inside Iran. You've got Ghulam Hussein. Yeah, that's right. Hey, I got it right. Ghulam Hussein Masani Ajay, who is basically their equivalent of John Roberts, who is one of the ultra conservatives. He is one of the hardliners who is part of the triumvirate that is supporting the statement that the IRGC is going to be reined in and stop doing whatever the hell it wants to do autonomously. He is part of the hardliners that are saying, yeah, we're going to get a leader sooner rather than later. So that's where we're at with Iran. That's where we're at. You've got the theocrats that are in full freakout mode because Pezeshkian has stepped forward as an elected politician, not a theocrat, and said, look, I got this. We're going to start getting along with our neighbors again. But fuck the USA and fuck Israel is what he said. No peace ever. That was part of the statement as well. So do what you want to do. There will never be peace, ever. Not after this. So yeah, this is where we be at. Iran is trying to dial it down with its neighbors, so the regional conflict could be coming to an end. We're still going to be bombing the shit out of them because they're standing there saying, fuck you. And that makes Trump have bad feels. And he doesn't look like a tough guy. And Peak Headset can't walk around talking about, we're war fighters. So, yeah, we're going to continue to be freaking stupid and destabilize the region. Meanwhile, it looks like this is going to metastasize into a war of terrorism because this happened. Sorry, I've only got so many room for tabs. This just happened. We had a bomb blow up outside the embassy in Norway. Yeah. Folks, that's how this works. That's how this works. I mean, I don't know who forgot the lessons of every other war in this region. All they have to do is not quit, and they will metastasize this from a battlefield war that they can't win to a war of attrition and terrorism that they absolutely look at the Taliban, folks. Look at the Taliban. We absolutely dominated Afghanistan for 2 decades. All they did was hide and snipe, set up IEDs, engage in a war of terrorism. And after 2 decades, we finally got sick of it and left. Kind of like they say about Vietnam. We won every battle and lost the war. You know, I mean, Iran is just telling us right out of the gate. Hope you're excited because that's what you're going to get. And literally saying, fuck your surrender. You're not getting it. Ever. Which is freaking people out because this is happening. Apparently, there are no smart people in the room surrounding Trump anymore. Because, yeah, this is real. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what to say about this. Everybody that talks to Trump is coming out of the room with their face in their hands saying he's really going to do this. He's really going to do this. He really wants to put troops on the ground in Iran. I guess I do know what I'll say about this. And it leads into the main story I want to talk about today. We can't afford this. We can't afford this. I don't even know what the debt clock's at right now. Pushing 40 trillion. We just can't afford another one of these open-ended, just piss money away engagements. We just can't. We're running up against a hard fiscal wall here in the United States. The same thing that just happened in Argentina is going to happen here. I mean, shit is just going to go away because we can't afford it, or we're going to have hyperinflation. We're going to do a Soviet Union. We're going to just have massive hyperinflation and then die as a country. We're going to have to make hard choices in the next 8 to 10 years. The math just doesn't math anymore. And we can't do this for the next 3 years of the Trump administration. We can't dump trillions of dollars into a war with Iran. I mean, militarily, can we do it? Yeah, we can. But we did it in Afghanistan. There's no question we absolutely dominated Afghanistan. But it was just a black hole we threw money into. And that's what Iran is. That's what Iran is. And oh, by the way, another bit of good news that sent the pro-war bots off the deep end was the Kurds have said, fuck you, we're not doing it. We're sitting this one out. There have been a few tribal leaders that have been receptive and stupid, but for the most part, the Kurds have said, no, been there, done that, we're not doing it again. So it looks like the whole fear of this growing into a massive regional world war size conflict in the middle of some of the most important oil infrastructure in the globe. It looks like they're backing away from that ledge. Not us, not Israel, not us and not Israel. Oh no. We're still trying to set the whole freaking world on fire. But no, it looks like Iran and Europe, and in fact, you have Trump coming out insulting Keir Starmer because he's still butthurt about the fact that the UK said, no, thank you, we're not doing this. We're not joining your little rah-rah, go bomb some shit party. Yeah, I mean, it looks like the smarter people in the room are going to prevail. I just don't know exactly. I don't know if anybody is left in the room around Trump that is smart enough to actually do anything. I don't. I just don't know. All right. Let's read a few comments. Potbelly stallion, oil companies get richer and screw the people. Actually, it's the oil industry. They don't really dig things like this because the kind of things you're going to see as far as inflation's concerned because of oil prices, because those oil prices aren't going to come right back down. They actually hate that. They like that sweet spot around $70 a barrel, $70 to $75 a barrel is where the oil industry really likes things. Here in Texas, that's about $3 a gallon for gas. California, it means about $4.50 a gallon for gas. You know, in other parts of the country that are a little bit more expensive. That's where they like it. They want it to stay there. It's tolerable. The economy can function and they make their maximum profits. When things like this happens, people stop driving. They lose their customers. They know this. They'll tell you to your face, no, $100 barrel oil, sure, it's great in the short term. But you know what happens is people quit buying big ass pickup trucks and SUVs. They stop using our product. Same thing happened. You remember in the 70s, cars were massive, big old Lincolns, big old, everything was huge. And then gas prices went insane. And then here came Mr. Toyota with his Corolla, Mr. Honda with his Civic. And the next thing you know, the little cars were here, and they were here to stay. I mean, the oil industry knows this. They don't dig this. They really don't. And this is going to be bad, folks. $120 a barrel oil. The economy has been struggling anyways. I'll pull up something real quick that wasn't part of the show. I'm watching for Monday to see what happens in Monday, 5 p.m. somewhere, dignified transfer of fallen heroes while wearing a hat. Am I the only outraged vet? No, people are pissed about that. And again, I wasn't going to cover that today, but I will. I will. People are very pissed about this. I posted about it on social media. I've got a video here. Love the guys over at Patriot Takes. They're part of with Midas. Yeah, this happened. This is called a dignified transfer for a reason. Show respect to our fallen heroes. Look at that idiot. Look at that idiot. No one else. He's so worried about people seeing his bald head because the winds are blowing, seeing the liver spots on his dome. He's out there wearing his merch during the dignified transfer, wearing a white frickin' baseball hat, a white trucker hat during the dignified transfer of our troops, the people that he got killed. Forgive me for gulping coffee. Yeah, that really happened. That really happened. Kira, got your pin and mug. I'm glad. Very happy. Thanks for supporting the show. Wayne Gwynn gifted 10 memberships. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate you. Melissa Grubb saw a video this morning of some guy taking his Trump MAGA sticker off his truck because of gas prices. That was his breaking point of supporting Mango Mussolini. Truly pathetic. Yeah. And that same guy that I saw, I'm not going to dig that video up, but yeah, he wasn't having a come to Jesus moment. He still thinks his bigotry and all of his hate is right. He just thinks Trump isn't doing a good job. He's supposed to be attacking the brown people and keeping my gas cheap, and he's not doing either one. And they've completely forgotten about the Epstein files. They don't even talk about the Epstein files anymore. Jordan B. Miller, Under Secretary of State, is Melania's ex-hairdresser. Yeah. Tony Mason, the people of Israel are like us, held hostage by a psychopath. There are, absolutely. I cannot, I don't go along with these people that are all like, oh, destroy Israel. I'm like, no, I don't want to destroy anybody. There are people in Israel that are not supporters of Netanyahu. There is a left in Israel. There are elections where he faces opponents that are not like him. Put it out, Texas Paul. The war was started to distract from Epstein. Yep. Jeremy Breeden, keg breath is a walking definition of toxic leadership. I agree, 100%. 5 p.m. somewhere. Trump loves great translators, explains his happy marriage. Y'all kill me, man. Metal Rabbit, Netanyahu pawned Trump. He did. New West Bill, they have started a fight with people who have been at war for over 1,000 years. This whole thing was it's such stupidity. It was just a choice. There was a viable revolution starting in that country. The people had enough. Ali Khamenei was 86 years old. This did not help the people of Iran. It didn't. It just didn't. Because the leadership now is is showing all over Iran the pictures from a little girls' school that we bombed. And then they're showing pictures, you know what? I will dig this video up. I will dig this video up. I can't believe the stupidity of our leadership. I just can't. One second. Take me just a second to find this video. I didn't have it queued up for today's show, but we ended up there. One second. Sorry about the dead air, folks. Got to come up with the right. Here we go. Now, if you're watching this, this is a minute and a half long. If you're watching this, it's from 60 Minutes. They have every copyright reason to have this taken down. If you come to this point in the show and there's not a video here, it's because I got hit with a copyright violation. So it is what it is. But I want you folks to see this.
CBS News has three sources telling us that Russia is providing intelligence to Iran on U.S. positions and movements. The average American might hear that and think that's a big and dangerous deal. Is it?
Well, we're tracking everything. Our commanders are aware of everything. We have the best intelligence in the world. We're aware of who's talking to who, why they're talking to them, how accurate that information might be, how we factor that into our battle plans, our CENTCOM commander. So we know what's going on. And the president has an incredible knack at knowing how to mitigate those risks. And so the American...
No, Trump is a freaking idiot. You're a freaking idiot. You're sitting there with your Fox News bullshit fucking mouth trying to spin the fact that Russia is giving satellite imagery and targeting information to Iran. There's no good spin to this. You're full of shit. It's not all under control. I'm going to skip through this because he talks about this stuff forever. And it's just bullshit.
U.S. personnel in any more danger than they otherwise would be?
Well,
the Russian involvement.
No one's putting us in danger. We're putting the other guys in danger. That's our job. So we're not...
What a stupid statement. What a stupid statement. But it's not the stupidest statement of the interview. Wait for it. But what a stupid statement. Nobody's putting us in danger. We're putting the other guys in jail. Woo, we're tough. We're war fighters. Fucking idiot. No respect for our military.
Concerned about that. We mitigate it as we need to. Our commanders factor all of this, but the only ones that need to be worried right now are Iranians that think they're going to live.
CBS.
What? I'm going to play that one more time, that last part one more time. Listen to what he says here and imagine how this plays in Iran.
Factor all of this, but the only ones that need to be worried right now are Iranians that think they're going to live.
I promise you, in Iran today, that clip is playing in a loop on the radio, on television. It has been translated. They have put it on CD. They have put it on thumb drives. They're distributing it out to people for people that cannot. Incompetence is expensive, people. It costs lives. It costs treasure. Incompetence is expensive. It is. It just is. Now, Iran had a very, very viable revolution started. The young people for a very long time have had enough. They're looking for something else. Ali Khamenei was 86 years old. You know, I mean, they didn't help this. What do you think is going to what do you think is happening now that we've blown up their largest oil refinery and storage depot? What do you think is happening to the people? Now, even the Iranian people that were happy, what do you think's happening to their life right now? When they run into fuel shortages and you hear Trump talking about, I want American troops on the ground in Iran. Pete Hegseth saying the only people that need to be worried are Iranians that think that they're going to live. Narratives are everything, folks, not just in politics, but in war also. I say it all the time. I rail about it. Narratives are everything. And we're losing because these people are incompetent, are completely and utterly incompetent. And Iran is they're patching it up with their neighbors. And China just looks like the grown up in the room in all of this. All of this. New West bill, they started a fight with people who've been at war for over 100 years. Yep. Broken portrait. Michigan nat gas has doubled in price in 1 week. Heating and power bills go up. Yeah. We're in a sweet spot between the high heating bills and the high cooling bills of summer. We're in that sweet spot right now. There are some people in the country not running climate control in their house at all right now, depending on where you live. That's going to be over really soon, and those big summer cooling bills are going to hit home at the exact same time gas prices at the pump are skyrocketing. And this was by choice. This was by choice. This was for Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel. We did it by choice. I'm going to print up a bunch of stickers. You know, people are like, we need to print up Trump stickers and say, I did that. I'm going to print up a sticker with Benjamin Netanyahu and Trump and that says, we did that. 5 p.m. somewhere, Iran, did we learn anything from the mountains of Vietnam and Afghanistan? Nope. There are a lot of mountains in Iran, folks. We know the Life's Church across, there are, 11 million people in Iran? This is not Afghanistan. This is not Afghanistan. The Life's Church across, I don't know what TREHEW means. USA are canceling their services today due to online threats. It's crazy. We had somebody hauled off an airplane for making a threat. Randy Ryder put it out, text Paul, the war started to distract from Epstein. It is. Rich Lawton, Epstein war is a sad state of affairs. Cassie Lake, vets from Iraq now have kids involved in Iran. Mr. Knudsen, so Trump will put your kids on the ground in Iran to fight in the hills against 1 to 2 million Iranians with drones. That will go well. Yeah, no kidding. There is no air supremacy when it comes to drone warfare. What's happened in Ukraine has changed warfare forever. Our really expensive jets are very limited in what they can do when it comes to drones. Linda Orndorff. Meanwhile, we're begging Ukraine for help with how to battle the drones because we are unable to defend against the drones. Yep. Jordan B. Miller. The Republican Congress is approving this blank check. Republicans are desperate not to be put on the record about this. Lori Dex, thank you for keeping us informed. Thanks, mods. I love our mods. We have some of the best anywhere, best show anywhere. They are the best. They really are. 5 p.m. nowhere, somewhere. No worries. Mark Wayne will protect us. Oh my God. I just can't with Mark Wayne Mullen. The Devil of Dallas, Swiss foreign minister says U.S. violated international law, and he's not alone. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. McBass, is China going to be rolling in all the treasure? Yeah, you're going to want to stick around for the last part of the show. You are. Independent. Thank you, Texas Paul, for lessons always. My pleasure. Just a few more comments, and then we're going to move on to the next section. Sharice Martin. Hello, Paul. You know, Congress will enact a draft because there's not enough military to handle this war. I pray not. That's a talking point that comes up every time we have a conflict. Every time. I would put the likelihood of a draft at 10%. Mr. Will, hey, Paul, is it true that Israel bombed the Saudis' biggest oil field and blamed Iran? No, Iran the fight between, now, Iran is not trying to patch things up with the Saudis. They are not. That is very much hot. And yes, Iran hit their largest oil refinery, and they're still trying to hit their fields and oil infrastructure. They are still doing that. They've reached out to Kuwait. They've reached out to Qatar. They've reached out to some extent to Bahrain. They've reached out to the United Arab Emirates. But Iraq and Saudi, no. Chandra Patton, Trump and Kegbreath act like two tackheads playing with toy soldiers on the floor. Yeah, I've got to, you know what? That's a good time to read this statement. I know, look, I get it. You may not be religious. I understand that. But it's still newsworthy to talk about. When you have someone major inside one of the major churches in the world speaks out. It's a short statement. I'm going to read it real quick. This is from Cardinal Blaise Kupik, the Archbishop of Chicago. It's entitled A Call to Conscience. They have spoken out about the war in Iran. And I just want to, this is where the church is at. As more than 1,000 Iranian men, women, and children lay dead after days of bombardment from U.S. and Israeli missiles, the official White House X account on Thursday evening posted a video of scenes from popular action movies spliced with actual strike footage from their war on Iran. The clip was captioned, "Justice the American Way." A real war with real death and suffering being treated like it's a video game. It's sickening. Hundreds of people are dead, mothers and fathers, daughters and sons, including scores of children who made the fatal mistake of going to school that day. 6 U.S. soldiers have been killed. They are also dishonored by the social media post. Hundreds of thousands displaced, and many millions more are terrified across the Middle East. This horrifying portrayal demonstrates that we now live in an era when the distance between the battlefield and the living room has been drastically reduced. The moral crisis we are facing is not just a matter of the war itself, but also how we, the observers, view violence. For war now has become a spectator sport or strategy game. Indeed, the prediction market Kelsey recently paid a $2.2 million settlement related to users who were unhappy with how the company paid out the $55 million wagered on Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's ouster after he was killed. Journalists now use the term gamifying the war to describe this dynamic. What a profound moral failure. For gamifying strips away the humanity of real people. Let's not forget a hit isn't putting points on the board. It's a grieving family whose suffering we ignore when we prioritize entertainment and profit over empathy. Our government is treating the suffering of the Iranian people as a backdrop for our own entertainment, as if it's just another piece of content to be swiped through while we're waiting in line at the grocery store. But in the end, we lose our humanity and we are thrilled by the destructive power of our military. We become addicted to the spectacle of explosions. And the price of this habit is almost unnoticeable as we become desensitized to the true cost of war. But the longer we remain blind to the terrible consequences of war, the more we are risking the most precious gift God gave us, our humanity. I know that the American people are better than this. We have the good sense to know that what is happening is not entertainment, but war, and that Iran is a nation of people, not a video game others play to entertain us. I believe the grown-ups in the room are speaking. We should probably listen. That hits, doesn't it? I thought it was incredibly well said. Thank you for being patient with me just reading that. Incredibly well said, I thought. Yeah, it is something. It really is something. But again, I want to leave you heartened with the fact that it looks like what is happening is the Iranian government is actually working actively with its neighbors to tamp this down from being a regional conflict, which is exactly what Israel wanted. And Israel is not going to get its way. It's not. I really fear for the people in Israel that are on the left. I do. I do. Because if you had asked me 10 years ago, will Israel survive? I was, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. I'll tell you right now, it's about 60-40 they don't. And I know that's hard. But it's about 60-40 Israel ceases to be a nation sometime in the next few decades. On the path that they're headed, you cannot be this stupid that long. Hell, we may cease to be a nation over the next few decades. We're facing serious, serious challenges. Appreciate you, Vince. Thank you for always being here. I'm going to read a few more comments, then we're going to move on to our main story. Believe it or not, that's not our main story. It's not. David Martinez, I got something really interesting to talk about. You're going to want to watch this. David Martinez, Trump is what you get when you take all the checks and balances away from government. Amen. Shortness 3000. Have you heard anything about Cuba? I heard that might be his next target. You know, I think that was, there's a thing with people that do what I do. Instead of reporting what's happening, talking about what's happening in the world, becoming informed. There's some really good people out, like Allison Gill, just fantastic for following what is going on. She's got amazing technical expertise. The guys over at Midas are really, really, really good. There are people that do it the right way. And then there are a bunch of people that, well, they're stupid and lazy, but they do what I do. They don't want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning before a show and read for 4 hours, 5 hours, to make sure that they're caught up on what's actually going on. They want to buy credibility with guesses. They'll hear something whispered or mentioned in a news article, and they won't do any background on it. They'll just put it out there as it's their own, so that they can seem competent and people will trust them, because every once in a while they'll get one right. It is what it is, folks. It is what it is. It's, there's an upside from moving away from corporate media. There's a downside to it too. And that's the downside. You know who I really like? Aaron Parnas. I really like Aaron Parnas. He's really good. He will tell you a fact, but he will tell you where that fact is coming from so that you can fact check him. He's really good. He's really good. And yes, Allison Gill. I love Allison Gill. I really do. Over at the Daily Beans. Yeah. But the whole Cuba, to answer your question about the whole Cuba thing, that was one of them. Somebody wanted to guess, what's he going to do next? He did Venezuela. They struck Iran. That's back when they thought we were going to go in and we were going to strike Iran like the last time, and Iran were going to be the grown-ups in the room, and they didn't realize how stupid Israel was going to be. That they were going to kill Khomeini. They were going to kill the senior leadership. They didn't realize the mess was going to be started. So a lot of people wanted to be the smart ones in the room, and they started guessing, Cuba's next. No. I don't think they're stupid enough. I think they're stupid, but I don't think they're that stupid. I think that was just a guess by people trying to get some free credibility. Robin DeHood, ordering a pin for me and one for Link's backpack. Good morning. By the way, Israelis were there like Palestinians before World War II. I just want peace for both. Me too. I want a nation that the Palestinians can call their own and have the dignity of self-determination, but their neighbors use them. God, Egypt uses the Palestinians. Jordanians use the Palestinians. I mean, it is just, there are more Palestinians in Jordan than there are Hashemites. There are. But they treat the Palestinians like they're a third class. Anyways, I don't want to get off on a tangent. I don't want to. Pins, for people that want pins, there's a reason they came down off the store. Unlike the cups that I didn't realize I was buying myself a full-time job. I make the cups. I do this. Pins, I do not. I have no way to make pins. I have to order pins. And they're pretty. They're cool. They're metal. This is enamel. Somebody has to do this. There's a lead time. I didn't think they were going to be as fabulously successful as they were. So I ran out. It's going to be another week to 2 weeks before I get more in. But they're coming. They're coming. Stephen Leach, in and out. We'll have to watch the replay. Hello, fam. I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad you're here. Mr. Knutson, when will MAGA understand that Russia's Putin is not USA's friend? When? They are the ENEMY enemy of the free world. Wake up, please. We know, brother. We know. It's these idiots, Republicans. About 25 to 30% of the American public are dumb as dog shit. We call them MAGA. They call themselves MAGA. Netta Dow, thank you for being here. Love that our European audience is in the house. Mr. Knudsen from Norway, Netta here from Denmark. It seems the EU wants us to stop buying American military hardware. That is if a country has to borrow money for it. Yeah, that's happening. That's happening. We've become an untrustworthy ally. So why would you depend on us for your military hardware and your safety? That's a thing that's really happening. Thanks to Trump. These people are idiots. E.T. I love how Della Reese said it in Harlem Nights. That was good. I love Harlem Nights. That's a great movie. I love Della Reese. I'm going to cut you, sucker. Monica Meadows. Liz Oyer just posted about Bondi trying to propose a new rule that the DOJ lawyers would have immunity from lying to courts. When you do something, I mean, come on, folks, just listen. Just listen. Just listen. I mean, they're telling you who they are. They're telling you who they are. Like the late, great Maya Angelou said, when they tell you who they are, believe them the first time. New West Bill, how many cells are here now? That's a good question. He's talking about terrorist cells. He's talking about terrorist cells. That's where this war goes, folks. That is where this war goes. Jasper Jensen, this will end very bad for the USA, especially if you put boots on the ground. Oh, I agree with you, sir. Dave Barone, Keg Breath is somewhere between an SNL skit and Fox News clip. I don't know whether to laugh or to cry. We're going to do about 5 more of these, and we're going to move on to our final story. Rena, the rise in oil makes owning an electric vehicle pretty logical. That was a typo in my last post. That's okay. That's okay. I appreciate you clearing it up. John Branch, Bahrain reports desalination plants hit by drone. Yep. It's a tit for tat there. They hit Iran's desalination plant. They're hitting their water infrastructure. What do you think that's going to do to win hearts and minds when they run out of water? And it's not because the asshole theocracy, it's because of us. What do you think that does? Miguel Larson tell us we're leaving our grandchildren trillions of dollars in debt and more dangerous world to live in. Yep. ET, apparently we destroyed Iran's desalination plant. We did. Their biggest desalination plant, we destroyed it. 5 p.m. somewhere. When will Trump blame this on Bad Bunny? Bad Bunny or Joe Biden or... that clip from Hegseth will play to Muslims worldwide. Sunni, Shia, Mani unite. We will be anathema. These people are idiots, just idiots. Melissa Grubb, Switzerland has come out and said that the U.S. and Israel did what U.S. and Israel did in Iran is a crime. Yeah, there's going to be long-term repercussions for this. And this is what our idiot president is doing. I want you to notice that Kristi Noem is not in this picture anywhere, even though she's the new envoy to the Shield of Americas. You didn't see this on the news because it wasn't. Trump really thought this was going to be a big thing. He really thought this was going to draw attention to his Doral Golf Club in Miami, which is an old piece of shit. And all he did was just piss off. Look at Millet in the back. All he did was just look like a fool. Wasted these people's time. Who's smiling ear to ear, Bukele? The gangster. Yeah. You know, why we're doing this, I want you for perspective to understand we spend over $1 trillion a year on our military. $1 trillion a year. That's 1,000 billion a year. Over $1 trillion a year. Remember that as we talk about this. This is Piraeus, Greece. Like most of Greek ports is beautiful. It is beautiful. I go online, take a look. Take a look at the pictures of it. It's absolutely beautiful. It is. It's also a commercial port. It is also a commercial port, a big one. And I want you to take a look at those cranes. I want you to take a look at those cranes. Think back to the show we had where we talked about Panama. Remember where we talked about, I love to use, if you've been around, and I'm not going to rehash this or beat a dead horse. We've already talked about it, but we talked about what China is doing versus what we're doing. Two of the examples I give are Nigeria and then, of course, Panama. We threatened Panama. We threatened to invade Panama. We threatened to seize the Panama Canal. It runs from Cologne here to Panama City. The Panama Canal. What did China do? China built new infrastructure. They went in and they modernized this port. Modernized it. I have been here, folks. I am telling you, they have done a fantastic job. There's a shopping area where you get off on, if you're on a cruise ship, you get off. There's a shopping area there that is it is absolutely beautiful. They have completely modernized this area. And I was amazed at the number of Geelys and BYD cars that you see here. They modernized the Port of Cologne. I showed you the cranes there. They did the same thing in Panama City. Go to the other end of Panama City here in the Balboa area. They've modernized this as well. You pull in and what you see, the cranes on every one of these docks are gleaming brand new Chinese cranes. Brand new. And then they also gave Panama almost no interest loans to rebuild their power infrastructure. Why did they do that? The simplest thing was say, oh, they did it for political power. No, they make bank off of this. Their goods hit Central America in a modern, efficient port. Yeah. They invested in infrastructure. We threatened Panama with military action. China helped Panama make money. China helped Panama modernize its electric infrastructure. Their infrastructure, their electricity is more reliable in Panama than it is here in fucking Texas. We had a rainstorm yesterday. And the power went out. Because every time the wind blows here, the fucking power goes out. Panama has a new modern grid. Thanks to China. They did the same thing in Piraeus. They did. But they didn't stop there. And by the way, this is where we're talking about. Let's go to the map. Let's go to the map. This is where we're talking about. Piraeus, Greece. And why it's so important. They bought a 65% stake in the port of Piraeus. China now owns 65% of this port. And to give you an idea where it's at, it is Athens, Greece. It is Athens, Greece. Now, why did they do it? And they bought it for a song, folks. Total investment in everything I'm about to talk about is $4 billion. $4 billion. Why did they do it? Okay. Well, let's back out. Let's back out and take a look at the world. We talked about the modern Silk Road before. If you're new, we didn't cover this. I'm going to cliff notes this. I'm not going to go into as depth. We talked about the ancient Silk Road that ran through the middle of Persia and the shipping that, all of this, which led to we talked about the Suez Canal. We talked about the Red Sea shipping back when we were talking about what was going on mainly with Yemen. Right? If you're China and you want to get goods to European market, you put them on a boat. You put them on a boat and someplace like Shenzhen, Hong Kong, or Fuzhou, or Taizhou, or Shanghai, or Yantai. You put them on a boat, a large container ship. Then you sail past the Bay of Bengal and the Indian Ocean, through the Arabian Sea, into the Gulf of Aden, up through the Red Sea, and out the Suez Canal. And you used to have to go to one of the ports in Italy, or if you wanted your goods to reach the wealthiest part of Europe, which is this area, Western Europe, Spain, France, Germany, the UK, that Italy, Austria, if you wanted your goods to get there, you pretty much had to sail all the way through the Mediterranean. A lot of goods went through Rotterdam. Our friends in Denmark will tell you they get Chinese ships in Denmark. They do. China figured out a better way. And they did it really freaking cheap. Really cheap. They bought a controlling interest in the Port of Piraeus, Greece. But they didn't stop there. They didn't stop there. There's already railways. They were old, like in the U.S., a lot of our infrastructure is old. A lot of the infrastructure in Europe is old. So they bought it up on the cheap. And then they came in and they did this. They brought in Chinese contractors. They built new high-speed rail lines. They hired people. They gave people jobs. These are Serbians, by the way. This is an image from Serbia. Why Serbia? Well, let me show you. Let me show you what they did. There are rail lines that run from Athens through Skopje in North Macedonia, up through Serbia to Belgrade. This rail line is not, it is not the premier of what China did. From Athens to Skopje is what you would think of a typical freight line. But from Skopje to Belgrade and from Belgrade to Budapest, oh no, they went all out. We talked about the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. They went all out. They built both high-speed transit and high-speed freight trains systems. They no longer have to ship to any of the expensive ports. In fact, they own the port. So China's costs to get goods into Europe now are a fraction of what they once were. And every country they did this in is incredibly grateful. They're happy they're there. They are very, very happy they are there. Now, you'll notice this headline, China's first railway project into the EU is open at last. Yeah, this was an uphill fight. And by an uphill fight, I mean, you got the old powers in Europe that kind of fought dirty about this. I mean, they really went to town with investigations, and they slowed the projects up, but they're done. They're done. They're already, they own the railways, they own the port. They're shipping all the way from the Mediterranean all the way up to Budapest, Hungary. And if you watch the show, you remember we talked about how the European auto industry has moved into that region. They're building a lot of their cars in Slovakia. They're building a lot of their engines in Hungary. They're building batteries in Hungary. China has a direct inlet there now. Can you guess what they spent for this? I'm talking about buying the port, modernizing the port, buying the railways, controlling interest in the railways, then building modern railways and modern control systems. Wild guess, how many billions of dollars do you think that cost? $14 billion, $5 billion, $5 billion. Bingo. Yeah, I know. I ran my mouth earlier. I gave it away. $4 billion, folks. $4 billion. And it was over a decade. It was over, actually, a little more than a decade. $4 billion. They now have, and we'll go back to the map. They now have a direct route on the old Silk Road to go directly from their factories in China. They load their goods on container ships. Again, through the Indian Ocean, through the Arabian Sea, through the Gulf of Aden, the Red Sea, up through the Suez Canal to Athens, or the Port of Piraeus, from the Port of Piraeus all the way to Budapest, Hungary. And they're working beyond. They've got a rail line they're working on between Graz and Budapest. Why Graz? Because again, you're talking about European car manufacturers are building many of their cars are manufacturing has moved to this region. You've got Slovakia, Slovenia, battery manufacturing, engine manufacturing, automobile assembly. They're doing a lot of it here. So they're building another railway. $4 billion in investment. How much do you think in the same time frame, if you had to guess, we spent on our military? The U.S. How much do you think we invested in our military? Just a wild guess. Just throw it out there. Just a wild guess. $10 trillion. $10 trillion. Now, can you kind of see how badly? Because of, and I will tell you, it is Republicans. It is Republicans driving that. That is 10,000 billion Can you see what we could have built? The goodwill we could have earned throughout the world. We're letting, we shut down U.S. aid. We're letting children starve in Sudan. But we spent $10 trillion on our military. China spent $4 billion over 10 years. And the Greeks love them. The Serbians love them. The Hungarians love them. And they've got direct access to Europe's markets. Their goods, here's another one. Now, there's lead time. There's lead time between when somebody wants something and when it gets delivered. Hell, it's got to be built, right? It's got to be built, right? And then not only built, if you're building it in China, you've got to get it from China, like the pens. My pens are being built in a factory. They've got to come here. They've got to come here. I got news for you. Even companies that tell you they're making these in America aren't. They buy the blanks from China. They do. There's a lead time. If you had to, and again, we're going to play the guessing game again. If you had to guess between manufacturing lead time, a company here in the United States decides they want widgets, or I should say Europe. A company in Europe decides they want widgets. You know, widgets are a fictional product. And those widgets are made in China. What do you think the time between, oh, I want these, and oh, they just showed up is? And I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. It used to be really good turnaround was 3 months. That was good. Thanks to this investment, their turnaround time from order to delivery in Europe, because they control every step of the shipping now. They get priority in their own ports. 6 weeks. 6 weeks lead time. 6 weeks. Yeah. That's where they spent their money. Do you know how many ports? Let's play the guessing game. One more question. Last one. Do you know how many ports the United States government has bought to allow American companies to efficiently get its goods into Europe? How many ports have we bought? Exactly right. I love you people. 0, none. 0, none. Why? Because we let the billionaire oligarchs do everything. Our government don't like that socialism. Because let me tell you what China did just did over the last decade to cement their position in the world and cement their relationship with Europe. What they did, they did it all on the cheap. They did it all on the cheap. That's socialism. That is socialism. We can't have that here. We can't have that socialism. Oh no, we got to let, the corporations do everything. So how do we do it? We do it the most inexpensive, inefficient way possible. Our goods, If we want to send our goods from the United States to Europe, the shipping fees are astronomical. It's some of the most expensive shipping in the world. Why? Because Johnny Gotrock's got to get his cut, man. You got the broligarchs in Europe and the broligarchs here in the United States. They're bending us over and they're just giving it to us as hard as they can. Meanwhile, the people of Europe, the people here in the United States, we don't get shit out of this except for higher prices. Why am I saying this? Because I'm telling you, socialism in some things is good. It is good. Infrastructure, socialistic control of infrastructure is a good thing. In fact, we've got this perverted system where we take the we pay for it part of socialism, but then they hand it over to private industry and let private industry just rail us. We get all the bad parts of paying for it and none of the good parts of like cheap goods, cheap shipping, stability, all of that. We don't know it because it gets handed over to private industry. That's what's going on with your electric infrastructure right now, our energy infrastructure right now here in the United States. Yeah, absolutely. Your electric bills are skyrocketing because we left it all to the broligarchs. China has other ideas. And they're winning. They're winning. They are winning. They're beating the shit out of us. Economically, politically. They came out of this war in Iran smelling like a rose. Because they're going to be the grown-ups in the room. They're going to go to each one of the countries in the Gulf region and say, look, we just want to buy your oil, man. And India's going to be like, yeah, listen to him because we buy your oil and we can't get it right now. This next century is going to be China's century if we don't drive every damn Republican out of office and change the way we think. If we don't start embracing some socialism in this country, you know, ask our friends. I am so proud of our friends from Europe that are here. They don't recoil at the thought of socialism. They would in no way, they would riot if their countries tried to do there what we do with healthcare here. I mean, look at the stupidity that went on with Brexit and the bitter lesson they're learning. I am telling you, friends, we have got to take control. We've got to change what we're doing here. ET, it is less than 35 weeks until the general election. Verify your voter registration and deadlines. Know your early voting dates. Get involved. Never again, Moss Landing. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you. Yeah, no shit, right? What happened to the ceasefire in Gaza? I thought there was peace in Gaza. No, that's an awful loud peace. No more tit for tat since Christie and Corey fired. Yeah. John Branch, that damn Bad Bunny, it's all his fault. We make that joke. But you could sell that to the stupids. You really could. You could sell that to MAGA. You could put the most bullshit, stupid story together and tell that to MAGA. Oh yeah, they'll be spreading it all over social media. I promise you, they will. Jeff Shuler, Lindsey Graham needs to be voted out. The chicken hawk owns a lot of responsibility for this mess. I think he has Trump's ear and is really pushing the Iran back. Yeah, that's documented, actually. That is actually documented. Yeah, Lindsey Graham is one of the primary reasons we're in this mess. Fonda, thanks for the info about Panama. We now have our own regime to kick out. Trillions blown. Appreciate you. And folks, think about it. Think about the force for good we could be. If we just cut our military spending in half, we would still have the largest military in the world. We would still have the most advanced military in the world if we cut our spending in half and then took 1/5 of that, or $100 billion a year, and just invested it around the world. Invested in infrastructure. Then took another 100 billion, invested here in infrastructure. What we could do. Then take the other 300 million and pay off our debt. Throw that towards our debt every year. Buy some of those bonds back. And that's just defense. Never again, Mustang. What do you, Paul? Do you watch Predictive History? Professor Jang is making the news. Coffee and thanks for no, I don't. Email me about it. I'd love to check it out. Koshin, imagine what China could do for Amtrak. Amtrak is a perfect example. Perfect example. You know, Democrats want to just overhaul Amtrak, modernize our you know, in China, there are buildings built where the trains go through the buildings. It's the coolest thing you've ever seen, man. They're doing it in Japan now also. The train goes through the building. You never leave your building to go to work. I mean, well, you leave your building, of course, but you don't have to go out on the street. You go downstairs to the train station portion of your building, get on the train, and it takes you to your stop. They're some of the coolest things you've ever seen. You know what? Let me not just run. Let me see if I can find. Got you. Train track runs right through the buildings. I mean, you can't do it in every building, of course, but I mean, it is what it is. You know, forward thinking. We can do this stuff. We can. John Branch, UNICEF spokesperson, and raised over Israel, U.S. attack in Iran. I would bet. I bet. Mr. Knudsen, China helped poor European countries on the cheap to make life better, invested to benefit them both. Unheard of, is it? And from a dictatorship, they undermine our democracy by being smart. It's scaring the hell out of me. You know, I got to tell you, the truth is the average person really doesn't care that much about democracy. They care primarily what their life is doing, what's going on in their lives. And as long as China is keeping the lights on, the trains running, and things more efficiently, people are going to be very susceptible to what is the actual bad side of socialism. I mean, not every there's good and bad capitalism, there's good and bad socialism. China's control, extreme control, is the bad side. It is. But people will be more susceptible to things like that. If they sit and they watch, oh shit, look what China's doing, man. Look at how bad shit's falling apart here. We've got massive debt and nothing to show for it. But boy, the Broligarchs got rich. There are 3,800 billionaires in this, soon to be a couple trillionaires in this world that are doing great. And look what's happening here. That is a very, very, very moving message. John Branch, Israeli airstrip raids reported over South Lebanon. Yeah. They've been attacking South Lebanon since like day 2. Tube Kurt, it's not just for savings that our military needs to be downsized. It has poisoned our culture, as the obscene video game movie mashup out of our White House demonstrates. Yes, I agree with that 100%, Kurt. 100%. Lori Yates would rather tax money go towards feeding the hungry and not excess military. That's what the church is talking about. That's what the church is talking about. That message that I read to you earlier from the Bishop of Chicago, the Cardinal from Chicago. That's exactly what they're talking about. What this is doing to us as a people. We're losing our humanity. We're losing our humanity. I'll be honest with you. It's one of the things that used to turn me off about football. It's like, God damn, does every football game have to be a military recruiting commercial? Does it have to be? Can't we just do the pledge of, pardon me, sing our anthem and that's it? I mean, do we really have to do military recruitment every damn football game? And that's not unpatriotic, man, to say that. It's not. $4 billion. 4. Republicans, and I know Bill Clinton signed the bill that actually was his death knell that finally ended it. But we were building a super collider here in Texas that was bigger than the one in CERN. All of those scientific discoveries could have been here. But they were like, oh, no, that's costing money, and that's for smart people. We don't want anything to do with that. What are you going to get out of it? Well, CERN's paid for itself. Everything, every development, every bit of economic growth that comes out of CERN now is all profit. It paid for itself several years ago. But they killed it. Because they won't invest in science. They won't invest in infrastructure. All they want is just to suck as much money out of everything as they can. On the cheap. That is American executives in a nutshell. There's no vision anymore out of America. There isn't. Our executive class in this country is shit. Our billionaire classes are even worse. All they think about is how can I draw the most money out of the situation as cheaply as possible. And we're it. We're it. Us and the Democrats are it. We're the last people standing that are saying, it really should be about the people. It's not all about profits. Yes, profits are good. Profits are necessary. The business of America is business and yada, yada, yada. That's all true. That's all true. But you know what? It should be about how people are living. I'll go back to Nigeria again. I've talked about that multiple times. There's a conflict in northern Nigeria because the Sahara Desert is moving south. Ranchers are losing grazing land. Farmers are losing farmland. They're fighting over what's left. You've got the manipulators, the grifters, the religious grifters here in the United States that want to make money saying, oh, they're persecuting us Christians. Then you've got the grifters in the Middle East saying, oh, they're persecuting us Muslims. When really the fight isn't about Christian and Muslim, they get along. There are Muslim ranchers. There are Christian ranchers. There are Muslim farmers. It's not divided on religious lines. It's about land. So what did we do? We listened to the radicals here. The Republicans said, oh, we got to go to Nigeria and defend them Christians. And we went and killed people in Nigeria. Now we have boots on the ground in Nigeria. You know what China did? China said, hey, let's fix this problem. Help them reclaim land from the desert. Is it sexy? No. Is it a lot of work? Yeah. Does it take time? Yeah. But they're getting land back. Who do you think the Nigerians like more? Us or China? We're participating in the killing that is caused by a problem. China's fixing the fucking problem. You know, if you buy $1 trillion worth of hammers every year, you're going to find a lot of nails. You're going to find a lot of nails, but you're not going to build much of anything. We can change this. We can. And I'm going to tell you something that's the hard truth here. You know me, I am ride or die. You cut me, I bleed blue. I am hyper partisan Democrat. I am. I wear it on my sleeve. I'm proud of it. I wear the jersey. I don't say I'm an independent. No, I wear the jersey, the good, the bad, whatever work needs to be done. I will tell you the Democratic Party needs an enema when it comes to this. You and I have to change the vision from within the party. We do. We've got work to do. Can't all be about the military. It can't be all about, rah aircraft carriers and shit like that. It can't. It's got to be the boring shit like, a drainage ditch would be really cool right here. I know it's not sexy. I know, but it's a job. It's a job. Cletus, get in that track over there and start digging, buddy. But Riley Gaines came in tied for fifth place with a transgender person, and you're worried about drainage ditches? Yeah, Cletus, get in the fucking ditch digger and go to work and earn a paycheck and shut the hell up about Riley Gaines and shit you don't understand. You're not a biologist, buddy. You don't get it. When one of those idiots asked me, can you tell me what a woman is? My initial response is always not on a stupid enough level that you can understand it. And when they push, oh, you don't want to answer. No, I'll answer, but first you have to tell me what androgen is. If you can tell me you know what androgen is, I can explain to you what a woman is. But if you don't know the fundamental basics of reproduction and how women come to be, we can't talk about what a woman is. And you don't want to have that conversation. Because I will ask you people, if you have a fetus with 2X chromosomes and the amount of estrogen that fetus is exposed to is on the higher level, what do you get? That happens in reproduction. It's chemistry that's happening inside a mother's body. It's chemistry that's happening, and it's not a Xerox machine. You don't take mama and daddy's picture and spit out a baby. That's not how it works. It's chemistry. Fetuses grow. If you get a high amount of estrogen in a fetus with 2X chromosomes, what do you get? Well, the answer is not 100% exact what you get, but you get a girl's body with a masculine brain. Yeah. Well, you're going to be like, oh, but Paul, you said estrogen. That's the girl hormone. Yeah, because of the way that androgen is processed, the way testosterone is processed, you end up with estrogen. If you hit high amounts of estrogen, you masculinize the brain. That's happened for all of human existence because it's a spectrum. Sometimes you get very little estrogen. Sometimes you get a lot of estrogen. If you got a fetus with an XY chromosome and you get very little estrogen, there are several things that can happen. But guess what comes out on the other end? A boy with a feminized brain. Yeah. So for all of human existence, there have been people born that are female with XX chromosomes that have masculinized brains. We call them lesbians. The ancient Greek, that comes from the ancient Greek island of Lesbos, because they've been around forever. Sometimes you get transgender people. Go the other direction, XY chromosome, low amount of estrogen, you get a gay man or a transgender person sometimes. Remember, it's chemistry. It's not, you're not baking a cake in your old Betty Crocker little, oven. Forever, this has existed. If all members of the LGBTQ plus community, which is really what's bothering Cletus, when he asks you, can you tell me what a woman is? Yes, I can, but not at a level stupid enough that you can fucking understand it, Cletus. Because you don't understand what a fucking woman is. You don't understand reproduction. Beyond, come here, baby, give me some. That's all you fucking know. So no, you can't talk to me on this subject because you're too fucking stupid and too stupid to know that the guy you go and give your money to every fucking Sunday at your social event you call church is fucking you over this because you're stupid. Because you're stupid. And he's doing it because the Republican Party that wants to bend you over on every social issue wants you to focus on the fact that Riley fucking Gaines, a miserable, worthless, lousy swimmer, came in 5th place, tied with a person who, when they were a fetus, had an XY chromosome and on the lower end of the scale of the amount of estrogen they were exposed to when they were a fetus. So let's elect some Democrats. Let's do that. Let's stop electing the Broligarch's bitches, aka Republicans. Okay? Shall we? Shall we do that? Now, again, we've got work to do in the Democratic Party. We need to take a rope, wrap it around that party, and pull left. We got work to do. We got work to do. Fuck you. Fuck you, Randa. Out the airlock you go. So yeah, don't talk to people like that. Don't waste your time on people like that. Don't have conversations with people like that. They are a waste of your time. I'm almost scared to read the comments. I am. I've been reading your basic comments, but I'm almost scared to read the paid comments. I am. I. Lori Yates would. Yep. Would rather money go to feeding the hungry. Yep. Trans-Mexico Railway, thanks to Claudia in China. Yep. Yep. Canada's doing it too. Canada's investing in infrastructure. They are. They figured it out. Build decent roads, build railways, and shit. We can do some business. ET. We spent about twice that in just a week. Dropping bombs. Skeet Sayre, since Reagan America has been run by non-Americans, Elon Musk was born in South Africa, and so was Thiel. Most of the right-wing nuts are actually of Hispanic descent. Weirdo Idaho liberal, we are in the dark ages with the horseman rubes rampaging our country into the Iron Age. Amen, brother. I still don't know what you mean by Hispanic descent. I don't. That doesn't make sense to me. But okay. Not going to go down that road with you. John Branch, 100,000 pray at Al-Aqsa amid Israeli restrictions on second Friday of Ramadan. E.T., the MAGA Christians just want the end times. Yeah. Yes, they do. They want to be with Jesus. Go be with Jesus, man. There are no such things as religious wars. It's all about money. Look at Northern Ireland and the Troubles. There's always some asshole standing in the back making something off of it. Always. Isaiah answered, your mama. Mr. Knutson, does putting straw into desert sand reclaiming land work? Yes. Making friends is very profitable. I know my budget as a salesman is $8 million US. My customers buy because my word and integrity. Amen, brother. Amen. Amen. Treat people well and they like you. Who would have thought? Skeet Sayre, Christian nationalism is not Christianity. You want to see God, go to church in a town created by slaves in the Caribbean. They made Charlie Kirk a martyr, and he is no different than David Duke. Abortion is the biggest lie they ever told. Yeah, it was abortion was all about just driving a wedge between people. It was never about science. It was never about the good of women. It was never about fetuses. It was just political gain. What is sad is I learned this in grade 7. Just a few more. The right has always focused on hatred. It is why they work with the Russians. Only an idiot would think Russia did not help the orange blob. Louder for the dummies in the idiot section over at MAGA. Jordan B. Miller, Katie Ledecky was a great woman swimmer because she trained against men. Thank you. Glenn Kaneko for the cussing jar. I appreciate you, brother. Veggie Owl, oversimplification of trans people is most male bodies get a male brain and most female bodies get a female brain, but sometimes a male body gets a female brain and a female body gets a male brain. Yep, it happens. It will happen again. I say this all the time. If every member of the LGBTQ plus community was suddenly gone, and oh boy, does that make the Christians happy to think about that. The Christian nationalists especially. But if it happened right now, I guarantee you by the end of the year, there will be members of the LGBTQ plus community born again. Because it has happened through our entire existence. It's just part of our reproduction. It's part of our evolutionary process. It was never meant to be Xeroxing. It was always meant to have variations. No, we all started with really dark skin. We did. We started in Africa with really dark skin. How do you think this see-through shit happened? It didn't happen in one generation. It happened because we moved to an area where we didn't get as much sunlight. And because we had dark skin, a lot of people had birth defects. But you know what? The people with lighter skin were more successful. Their children were more successful because more sunlight penetrated. And we got the nutrients, the vitamin D and the nutrients we needed from being able to absorb the sunlight because we lived in areas, Northern Europe, Scandinavian folks, all those people we think are so pretty. Yeah, that's a genetic mutation, folks. And it doesn't happen overnight. And it happens in a spectrum. Walk tall and carry a big old fact bet. Amen, my brother. Amen. Old enough and proud to say my first voting in 1980 was not for Reagan. Good for you, my brother. Good for you. Clarence WD, thank you for being here, my man. Meadow is being called out, listing Arab nations with much to gain with the fall of Iran without mentioning Israel. Say it ain't so, Rachel. Saudi Arabia would love to see Iran fall. Saudi Arabia benefits greatly from all of this. That's why they're participating. That's why Mohammed bin Salman was absolutely in Trump's ear saying, yeah, do it. Weird Idaho liberal. I am pro-LGBT and pro-choice for this reason and other reasons too. None of my business. Just let people live their lives, man. Just let them live their lives. Skeet Sayer, that is insane. More than half of them are part of that. Benny and Johnson are both on Grindr. Mr. Knutson, poof, the win. There goes Lindsey Graham. Well, folks, I hope you've found what I've done today useful. I hope the information's useful. I hope it gives you some perspective. I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you allowing me to do this full time. I'm truly grateful. The pins should be here in a week or two. Thank you for always buying all the cups. I'm truly grateful. Again, it's how we pay the bills around here. It's how we end up buying. I've been looking for 6 months. I tell you, I'm a cheapskate bastard. You know how much I want to put a sideboard back here, get rid of this ugly old gun cabinet. Do you know how much those damn things cost now? Jesus Christ, they're outrageous. And every time, so I keep looking around for a nice used one. I'm just cheap, man. I don't like to waste money. I don't. I am not going to pay. They want like $3,000 for a sideboard now. Forget that. No way. I will find me a nice used one, maybe an antique or something. But we're going to make some changes around here, and I can't do it without you. And I'm truly grateful. I am truly grateful. Enjoy your day, people. Enjoy your day. And on that note, enjoy some Texas cities at night.